have a monkey in your pants?
Alright folks, Monkey 5000 here, back with another video, and this is my PlayStation 4 Pro thoughts, impressions, thoughts, review, waffle. So I've had the console for maybe a week or so now. I've not played a tremendous amount of games on it so far, but like I said, this is my very short, quick, may not be very short, quick video on my thoughts on it so far, I suppose. We'll start off by looks of the console. It got a bit of controversy, or a bit of stick, I think, when it was it leaked? I know, yes, it was leaked, wasn't it? It was some drawings, I think, that came out from some factory in Japan, which showed what it was gonna, or which gave you an indication what it was gonna look like. It had the triple layer. My thoughts on it as a console: it's quite nice looking. Is it as nice looking as the Xbox One S? Taste is subjective. I'd probably say probably not for myself, but it's a nice looking console. It's not overly large. I do like how it's got the light strip across the front of it, the sort of the blue light, or the, what is it, orangey light when it's on standby or rest mode, I can't remember now. And I do like as well the fact that it's got two USB ports at the front, at the right hand side, but also it's got a USB port at the back as well, which was I thought was a big omission on Sony's part the first time round. It was like no USB port on the back. It was stupid, because for example, if I had a set of headphones for the original PS4 and it had a little USB adapter that stuck into it, and it would make sense if you could have plugged that into the back at the time. Basically it stuck out the front of the console and it looked stupid. So now you've got that third extra port, I should say, on the back, which I suppose you could really use for the VR side of things, but it's good to have an option, so well done Sony on that, I suppose. The only thing I don't like about it is the buttons, I should say, on the front. Now the PS4 Slim, they changed it from, they completely went away from the original PlayStation 4 model buttons. They were obviously capacitive originally, then they turned into like physical buttons, and the PS4 Slim, the buttons were completely different, and I quite liked them. You had like two buttons near the front of the console. Now the PS4 Pro, I've not got one to show you here, it's in the living room, but I'll probably show you a picture. It's got a weird, under one of the tiers, one of the, it's 3-layer sandwich if you like, running along one of them there's like a little extra section, and it's got your power button, your eject button, and it's a whole strip that runs along, but they don't feel very sturdy. You press them and you're like, am I pressing it? And I'm not pressing it. It is a physical button, but it's just like, how are these going to hold up long term? I just don't like it. I would have much preferred if they took the button from the Slim model and added it on the PlayStation 4 Pro model. I think it would have, I don't know why they went with this, if they thought it was more premium, this weird button strip. Like I say, I will show you guys what it looks like on the screen, but I just do not like it. But overall, as a console, I do quite like the look of it, minus those buttons. Extra USB port's great. The light strip across the front of the console I do like, and on the top and bottom of it actually, or is it just the top or the bottom? I don't know. It's got the PlayStation logo is actually mirrored, which I do like as well, and it's obviously got the PlayStation symbols on the bottom as feet, like the Slim model has, so it's quite good. So next, I suppose, we'll get on to noise of the console. It's a big thing for me. I was always wondering how noisy or how non-noisy or how quiet it was going to be, I should say. But the very, very first original PlayStation 4 model, I thought it was noisy. If you're playing The Last of Us or Killzone on it, oh my god, it sounded like somebody just started a jet engine in your living room or in your games room, and the fan would go like crazy. Obviously when they released the slightly updated version, it did manage to quieten down a little bit, but there was always concerns. PlayStation 4 Pro, it's a little bit slightly more powerful console. It's going to generate more heat. Is it going to be a hell of a lot noisier? But I would say it's not too bad actually. It's not whispery quiet like what the Xbox One S is by any means, but I wouldn't say the fan noise is intrusive or it's really loud. I think they've done tests, certain places online have done tests, and it's comparable to the previous PlayStation 4 model, so it's not that too bad. If that didn't bother you noise wise, I would say the PlayStation 4 Pro isn't going to bother you noise wise. And one thing actually that used to get me with the very, very first model, I'd always like, this is quite noisy, this is quite noisy. You'd have a look online and people would go, my PlayStation is absolutely whisper quiet. And I was like, are you deaf or something? I don't know, but obviously, yeah, you need to make sure it's got a bit of air around it so it can breathe. But the PlayStation 4 Pro has got a larger fan, which, and obviously I think power draw, I do not know what it is, but obviously I think it's reduced compared to the very, very first PlayStation, which will keep things cooler, which means it will keep the fan noise down as well. So I did originally have mine's sitting on top of my TV cabinet, just because I thought I'd let it get as much air as possible. But then I put it inside. It's got a small hole at the back for cables inside the cabinet, but it's got plenty of space around it. And I didn't notice it any noisier. It's not ridiculously hot to the touch. Touch to the hot to the touch. Touch hot. You know what I mean? Or anything like that. So yeah, noise wise as well, it's not too bad. 9 out of 10 times I play with headphones on anyway. So even if it was ridiculously noisy, it probably wouldn't bother me. But most people, would either have headphones on or they'd probably have their TV or their sound system turned up quite loud anyway. So noise wise, yeah, no problems at all. So next thing is to get onto what does the PlayStation 4 Pro do, or basically compared to the base model, or the original model I should say, they overclocked the CPU and they increased the graphics performance side of things. I'm not going to get into numbers because I'll probably forget and get it wrong, but that's the basic idea of what it is. But there was a bit of hoo-ha about it because instead of maybe aiming for 1080p or 60 frames per second, the sort of Sony's went for this 4K or fake 4K is what I've heard people saying, but those people need to see it before they make a judgment on it. What you'll find is the experience sort of differs from game to game basically. 9 out of 10 times the game is rendering at a resolution of 1440p, which is considerably more than 1080p. Anywhere from 1440p you've seen to 1800p, and then upscaled through checkerboard rendering or some other method to get to your 4K. Or there are the odd games, or the Skyrim and NBA game, I can't remember, which runs in native 4K as well. But what I'll say, people like, I don't, console fanboys and comments etc, they're like, oh, it's fake 4K. It's like, fucking hell. Right, me coming from PC backgrounds, there's a massive difference, first of all, between 1080p and 1440p. Anybody who's had a 1080p and then went to a 1440p monitor should know this. So any game that's now rendering anywhere between 1440p and 1800p, if it's not running at native 4K, and then getting upscaled through Sony's clever checkerboard methods or other rendering methods, you're going to notice a ridiculous difference in visual quality. It's just the way it is. Different resolutions, different visual quality. What I'll say though is you get the most benefit from it, is what I'm going to say, from having a good 4K HDR TV, because you're going to get the higher resolution, you're going to get the HDR as well, which PlayStation 4 Pro has got. But there's lots of, like I say, I see lots of people saying, no, there's hardly any difference. Or I can't tell the difference is what they're saying. I think these people that say I can't tell the difference are also the same people that say they can't tell the difference between 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second. I think they must walk about with their eyes closed all day long. But there's a massive visual difference, certainly running on a 4K TV with these games. I put on, what was the first game? Infinite Warfare. Don't know what resolution that's running at, for example, but it's doing whatever it's doing. And it's being outputted on the 4K TV, and the image clarity and level of detail it's a step up. It is. People are saying these are sort of mid-generation iterations of the console, but it's a considerable step up. There's lots of games like that have been patched for the PlayStation 4 Pro that are given a much higher resolution, and yeah, it's very noticeable. I'm quite impressed with it, to be honest with you. When I put on Infinite Warfare is what it was, and then I played through Modern Remastered, then I played through playing Skyrim as well, which was native 4K, which also, it's an old game, but it looks good for what it is, if that makes sense. But yeah, the visual difference between normal 1080p and then the 1440 or the 1800p resolution or whatever it is, then being upscaled to 4K, it is a very noticeable difference. Is it a difference that's worth spending money on for the console? it's for you to decide really, and as it sort of leads on to the question about people with 1080p TVs, what benefits do they get? Basically, your resolution is still being rendered out at the PlayStation 4 Pro, 1800p for argument's sake, and then it's being shrunk down. Basically, it's probably the easiest way to explain it for the 1080p screen. What that means is you get less jaggies, less shimmering, and it will look better on 1080p compared to the base model. But I couldn't say I could recommend it. I've not connected it up to a 1080p TV, but for 4K TV owners, and like I say, you have to make sure you've got a good 4K HDR TV. I would say it's a big step up compared to the normal PS4. Like I say, people were moaning about it. Oh, it's not that big a difference, but what are people expecting? Like, to be fair, right, you're not going to see a big difference between 1800p being upscaled to 4K, right, or a native 4K picture. I don't know what difference people are expecting, or if they were just really wanting 60 frames per second, but if all it could have done was 1080p 60 frames per second, people would still be moaning one way or another. But it's like, we're never going to see this massive leap from one generation. I know it's not another generation console, but do you know what I mean, from each piece of hardware to hardware to hardware, like we did in the olden days when things were black and white. It's like PC gaming, or PCs, you know what I mean, you get a better graphics card, you get another better graphics card, you get another better graphics cards. You see small increases in what you can do with a level of detail, texture, resolution, frames per second, and that's the way, like it or not, the consoles are going to go in the future. You're going to see small, new, shiny upgrades. It's probably the easiest way to say it each generation. Now, as I said, not every game is supported for the PlayStation 4 Pro, and I don't mean it won't work on the PlayStation 4 Pro, but to get the upscaled or the high resolutions, like I say, it varies from game to game what developers do with it, but the game in particular, or a game in particular, needs to be patched for the PlayStation 4. So if you put in Grand Theft Auto 5, or let me think of another game, Mad Max, for example, games that haven't been patched for the PlayStation 4 Pro, or The Witcher 3 is another one, you'll see zero difference compared to the normal PlayStation 4 model. The games need to have been patched. There was quite a few games being patched, and any games moving forward will have PlayStation 4 support. But for your normal games, see, there's absolutely zero difference. But for any games that have been patched, yeah, big jump up, I would say, in visual clarity and detail is probably the easiest way to say. You can certainly tell there's a high resolution image being presented, certainly on a 4K TV. But again, that also sort of leads me on to, there was an article released quite a little while ago saying that they're maybe going to charge for PlayStation 4 Pro patches, and there was a big hoo-ha about it at the time. And thinking back, I don't think it's a big issue, I should say. Yes, there's been some games that have been patched. All games moving forward will have support for the console as well. But imagine if you've got Witcher 3, for argument's sake, and the developers made a patch for it and they want to charge you $2.99. Would you pay that? I'd probably pay that $2.99 just so I could have that better experience, the higher resolution or more stable frame rates, for example. I'd much rather have that compared to just the standard version. So I don't know if that is something that will come about, possibly not because the hoo-ha that was on the back of it, but I think we should be given the option of having the option to buy patches for your games. It's something that's never really happened before. I know on the PC side of things, do you know what I mean, patches are always free, but if the developer's done with a game completely, it's not being patched for bugs, and it's just going to give a patch for the PlayStation 4 Pro support, I think it's a good option. Like I say, if it means that you get the option to have it, if you do or you don't want it, if you do want it, you have to pay for it, yeah, I think it's a good option. Will it happen or not? I do not know, but like I say, there's a lot of older games that I haven't played that I wish had been patched. Like The Witcher 3 is another one that I keep mentioning, because I'd like to play that, more stable frame rates or higher resolutions. But we've sort of talked a lot about high resolutions and not really talked about more stable frame rates. That is also a benefit, or can also be a benefit, I suppose. I know, for example, Battlefield 1, it runs at, I think it's high resolution on the PlayStation 4 Pro, but it's certainly got more stable frame rates. It's not going to Sony basically said if the game runs at 30 frames per second, we don't want said game to then run at 60 frames per second. I think certainly for multiplayer side of things, but if a game's got a 60 frames per second target, then the base PlayStation was dropping down to 40s and really struggling, then what the power of the new PlayStation 4 Pro can do, if I can get my words out of my mouth, it could basically means it'll have a better chance of targeting that 60 frames per second. It may not be rock solid, but it'll be a lot more stable than the normal PlayStation 4. So that's a good thing as well. Certainly, I suppose for people with 1080p TVs who may not see a massive visual difference, they may see a performance difference as well. But saying that, there's a few games. Sony's sort of mandate on this whole thing was PlayStation 4 Pro version of the game shouldn't run any worse than the PlayStation version of the game. But there are one or two games, I think, for some reason. I think Deus Ex or Deus Ex, I always call it Deus Ex, is one of the games. I'm sure there's some more. Digital Foundry has looked at videos for them where it runs noticeably worse than the base model. I don't know how that's managed to slip through the nets, because basically Sony says, no, if it's going to run this good on the base model, and if you're going to run at high resolution, we still want it to run as well as the base model, or else it just makes the console look a bit stupid. But those few games are few and far between. Most games you do notice a big difference either in performance or resolution compared to the original model. Running out of words. So it leads me back to, I suppose, is the PlayStation 4 Pro worth it for you? For me, I'd say yes, but it's one of these things. You get a lot of people that will be like, I'm not too bothered about graphics, I don't want to spend that extra money just to get a little bit of higher resolution bump. That's fine, that's your cup of tea, but for me, I want to get the best experience out of the console. You probably say, why aren't you playing on the PC? I do have a PC, but I want to get the best experience out of it. I've got a 4K HDR TV. I want to get the shiny higher resolution and HDR. I know they've patched it on the other ones as well, but I want to get that and the shiny resolution with the 4K TV. I think it makes a massive difference, and for me it's certainly worth it. So I'll say if you've got 4K TV that's good with HDR, and you're bothered about how the games look, and you want things to look a little bit nicer, and you want things to run a little bit smoother 9 out of 10 times, I'd say yes, the PS4 Pro is certainly worth it. Different story, like I say, if you do have a 1080p TV, but it's probably not as easy an option to recommend. Yes, you'll get, let's say, 9 out of 10 times slightly better performance, but with the visual difference there, is it a massive step up over the normal PlayStation 4 on a 1080p TV to warrant the price difference? I suppose that is something you will have to decide yourself. But for me, I'm very happy with it. I've been playing it a lot. I played through both the newer Call of Duties. I'm playing through Skyrim. I'm going to load up Watch Dogs as well. But I just wish that somehow they could have made, or somehow implemented something in the hardware or the software automatic patching system or something that basically went, the PlayStation 4 Pro is out now, boom, every single game that was released prior to it is now got support for it with higher resolutions or upscaling, etc. But yeah, unfortunately it's not the way, but then it leads me back to the paid patches. I don't know if that would ever be an option, but certainly, like I say, for the odd game that I've not played that I do want to play, I would spend, what, $1.99 for a patch? I'd pay that. It's not going to break the bank at the end of the day. Yeah, I'd certainly play that to get higher resolutions. Like I say, it does make a big difference. Whether or not your eyes can notice it on your 4K TV or not, I do not know. I suppose some people just can't notice this shit. Like I say, I think they must walk about with their eyes closed all day, every day. But for me, I'm loving it. I got the 4K TV a little while back. I knew I was probably going to get the PS4 Pro, and I was very impressed so far with the difference it can make in the patched games. And I'm really enjoying it. I was sort of not playing games for a while for whatever reason, but now I'm sitting in the living room with a nice TV. I think the combination of the new TV and the PS4 Pro, in my mind, has transformed the gaming for me at this moment in time. I'm really enjoying getting back into it. But yeah, let me know down below, guys. If you got the PlayStation 4 Pro, what you think of it. Are you going to get it if you've got a normal PlayStation 4 Pro? Normal PlayStation 4 Pro, normal PlayStation 4. If you are going to get it, have you got a 1080p TV, or are you thinking of getting a 4K TV? Or if you do have a console with a 1080p TV, again, let me know what you think of it. Do you notice a difference as such over the normal console on that same TV? I'd be really interested to know that as well, if you could leave me a comment down below. But yeah, I know as well, a lot of people are saying I'm not going to get it, I'm just going to hold out for the Xbox Scorpio. That's a little bit while off. What it's going to do, who knows? Native 4K, who knows? Is it going to be a big difference over 1800p upscaled? Who knows? Time will tell, time will tell. But we'll leave it there for this video, guys. As always from me, thank you much for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.
Do you have a monkey in your pants?